Go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Another edition of the Pompously Political Podcast. Of course, as usual, I am Jimmy, and this time we're joined by two Scots. As Doc Brown would say, great Scott. So, without further ado, Scott, I'll let you introduce your dad here.
Oh, well, you ruined the surprise.
Oh,
This, and you
sorry.
also dropped the co-host. So this is the
Uh,
co-host, Scott. And proud to introduce my dad, Scott Sr.
nice.
Hello.
Good to meet you, Scott Senior.
It was nice meeting you. Glad to be here.
So
It
just so everybody knows we're all on the same page. This episode's going to be a little special. We're going to dedicate half of it to talking about the current state of law enforcement in America, with all of the videos that are coming out and everything else that's happening. We brought in my dad because he recently retired after 28 years of serving in law enforcement. Quite a distinguished career. So we're going to get his take on what the current state of law enforcement is. So I can't think of a better way to say that. So, but before we get there, we're going to do the news and other stuff.
Yippee! A lot's happened in the news, man. We've had, well, my favorite thing that's been in the news lately has been the Donald Trump bit, but we'll get to that.
Yes.
We'll get to that one in a minute because I do want to touch really briefly on that NAACP leader that was reportedly white but pretending to be black.
Yes.
So would this be a case of white on black crime then, or how would we define this sort of thing here?
I still don't even know how I feel about this whole thing. It's obviously it's offensive and it's wrong, but why? Why did she feel the need to do that? And now her defense is that she's upset. You know, she's already resigned from this position, but now she's upset that nobody has bothered to ask for a paternity test to prove that these two random white people are actually her mom and dad.
Wow. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that it's something that, I mean, did she feel insecure with the fact that, I mean, did she feel like she could not accomplish what she had accomplished with the NAACP as a white woman? I don't understand that.
Haven't there been? I may sound really stupid asking this, but hasn't there been white leaders in the NAACP before?
My local NAACP leader is white, actually. Of course, I'm in Idaho, so go figure. But
so then, being white's not an issue. Why do you have to pretend that you're black? That just
yeah.
there seems to be a lot of issues going on below the surface here.
Right. And she was married. She's divorced now, but she was married to a black man. So how did he not know? Like, did he just not meet the parents?
He thought she was black?
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, otherwise, how come he wasn't offended by?
I have no idea. And there goes Jimmy's connection. 3 minutes into the podcast, but we're gonna keep trucking along because we got a lot of stuff to get through. So, what do you think about that?
What's my take on it?
Yep.
I really don't have a take on it, honestly. I'm like you. I think there's a lot of issues there, and I'm not going to comment on anything like that.
Understandably. So, I'm sure there's a lot more stuff that's going to come out with that before we reach the end of that story. As you know, there's a new development every couple of days, so
Right.
It is slowing down. But there'll be some more. I'm sure we'll hit that again later. So moving on to other topics, there's Why Bry Lie, Mr. Brian Williams. NBC has confirmed that he will be returning to NBC, but he won't be getting his show back. He'll be going to MSNBC as kind of the special edition, special news guy that, I don't know, breaking news. Now we go to Brian Williams. You know, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So going from having your own show to being that guy, that's a pretty substantial demotion. Because that stage has got to be like 10 years before your own show. So that's taking him down a peg or two, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll also be, whenever the current guy, I don't know his name, but the one that's hosting the nightly show, or the nightly news. Now he'll be the fill-in for that whenever that guy goes on vacation or is sick or something like that. So he'll still kind of get the spotlight. I'm sure all of his material is going to be really, really fact-checked before it gets released, though.
I would think it would need to be.
Did you think it was that big of a deal that he deserved all that, or was it kind of harsh?
Wasn't my call.
It just, at first, it seemed like, okay, he blew the story a little out of proportion. Military guys have done that a lot. It's kind of a staple of the military, to be honest. But then to keep digging into it and see story after story after story after story that he had blown out, was like, that really calls your credibility into question. And there was the slight storm after that with Bill O'Reilly fact-checking him, but through sheer ignorance and determination, Bill O'Reilly's still on TV, unfortunately. So, moving on. Jimmy just messaged me. His computer has almost completely died.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So, I want to do this interview with you, but I want Jimmy to be here for it. Let me see.
Just want to try it at a different date. So he can get his stuff up and going.
Yeah, this isn't. It's really hard to do it without him because we have this kind of chemistry that bounces back and forth. But really sorry about that, Dad.
No, that's all right.
Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are tuned in, actually no, there's 0 viewers, so whatever, we're fine. It gives me the stats down here, so we're not disappointing anybody. Alrighty. Well, I'll go ahead. I don't know if this is going to kick us off when I hit stop. Just a second.